Hello there. Yes, I'm the guy that everyone's been telling you about, the one building a V10 Patrol. Nobody told you about it? That means you don't have any friends. This is a 5-litre twin-turbo V10 diesel, and I started with this, and this, did this, and this, and the result so far is this. And seeing as I have over 5 subscribers, this currently makes me the most famous YouTuber in the world who's building a V10 Nissan Patrol short wheelbase. I also broke my foot, so shut up. So, updates since the last episode, but I'm waiting on an obscene amount of deliveries, so this is all I can do this week. Next week there'll be a surprise. Since then, many things have arrived, including my ginger carpet over there, and I've decided on some wiring things. I've made the executive decision to not chop up the factory wiring. Why though? Well, it's almost too simple to chop up. The only thing I'm not using is the engine controlling circuitry, and it was a carby engine, which means there's like 3 wires anyway. So all I would be really removing is the wiring for the speedo, there, and about 4 other wires. I think I've got the space in the cab to put it in, and I'd rather not risk chopping something out by accident. Chopping something out by accident. I'm going to give you a quick before shot before I show you what's down here. This is what the wiring was like before I started doing this. As you can see, CAN bus hell that nobody but the utterly insane would want to deal with. And since then, I've dealt with it. And all the stripped down wiring has been sheathed and wrapped where it's supposed to be, as well as routed into very convenient places. Now, since all that was done, I've had to run a pretty extensive VCDS diagnostic to get a report of all the electrics of this car. Now, one of the results showed an issue with the brake light switch. But, I mean, let's be honest, who really cares about that? I do. And so does the car. Because without the brake light switch, you can't get it out of park. I know that's very easy to bypass by just either removing the switch or putting a little thing in there, but it also affects how all these transmission modules deal with downshifting while you're braking. That's quite important. Now luckily I've been able to get some closure on this problem. I may have accidentally chopped it out. And wiring it back in is going to be an absolute bloody nightmare because the wires are about 20 meters long. However, over this time, I've been bothering Darkside Developments with all my ailments on this project, and they were on the other side of the world, digging through wrecked vehicles to try and trace these wires back for me. And thankfully, I believe the problem is solved. I have 4 wires here. 3 of them go to a pink connector inside this fuse box, and the last one goes to fuse 38 in this fuse box. Problem solved. So if you want to get these wiring diagrams from Volkswagen, you've got to pay them, naturally. But I don't really do that. So I was able to find the entire cloned Volkswagen directory, courtesy of the Russians. So I can consider this minor hiccup almost resolved, thanks to Darkside and the Russians. So now that that ruckus is resolved, it's time to solve the last bit of wiring on this project. Now this is where we're going to start to learn some things, because I've got my very expensive USB cable hooked up, and I'm going to try the most basic code clear and see what it actually shows up with. So, ignition on. Forgot to press record, but anyway, let's start it and see if I have throttle response. Now my final goal for this episode is to try and get this car so it's not running in limp mode. Because right now, it barely revs up, as you probably just heard. And part of the problem with that are these things. Vane controllers. And there are 2 of them, because I have 2 turbos. But there's a problem. Unfortunately, I buggered up one of these worm drives when I was lowering the engine in for a test fit, and it completely snapped the worm gear inside. Now the good thing is, later down the line, I can replace this half, which is the gearbox, and keep the computer half to keep the ECUs happy. But for now, they'll be there, so it'll think there isn't a problem. And I won't be driving it under any boost anyway, if at all, so therefore no problem for ECUs. I also don't remember which side is which, so I'm going to have to kind of educated guess my way through this. If I do get them wrong, there will be an ECU problem. So, my brake switch is pretty much wired up now. As usual with anything with multiple wires, most of them were very easy to find, but there's always that one elusive one that takes you bloody ages, and causes you to pretty much have to strip the loom back to basics. Anyway, what kind of idiot would I be if I didn't test my work? So let's start with the easy ones. This nice big fat red wire is obviously a power wire. Any idiot should be able to tell you that. And this should go here to fuse 38. That's a good noise. The rest of them are destined for this little pink connector here in the engine bay fuse box. So starting with the next easiest one, the only one that is grey and red. Another good noise. Next one. This one should go to pin 5 of the little pink connector. And the next one along should go to pin 6. That's 4 out of 4 by my books. And what this means is that I can conclude my mistake by doing this. And redoing all this, but we're not going to talk about that. Seamless. So now that I've gone through all the effort of removing every single piece of non-critical wiring, it's time to add a lot more wiring. Stress less, count more. Now you might be thinking to yourselves, this is a stupid idea putting 2 wiring looms in one car, but think harder, and it's the best thing you could ever imagine. Basically it means that any fault finding to do with any of the lights and stuff is going to be GQ wiring related, and anything engine related will be related to this stuff. So it basically cuts any fault finding in half. Anyway, I'm going to throw it in. So now that all these annoying vents and little gubbins are fitted, it's time for a big boy piece. Who would have thought that it would take 4 episodes and as many months just to fit a dashboard? It's almost like I planned this. Now dashboard's doing what dashboards do. It's hiding away most of the horrendous wiring that I've got to stash somewhere. With the exception of these, which do the radio and climate control. These, which do hell. And a few modules here. This is where the sensor console's gonna come in. Everything can be stashed under here because it's basically a massive suitcase. And even though it doesn't look it, this is incredibly close to being finished. Which leaves me to think about what I'm doing at the back half of this car. I'm still undecided about whether I want rear seats in the back, so I'll let you bark all your knowledge and insight in the comments below about that particular subject. Now I'm going to take this opportunity to educate. And this is in the hope that this can appeal to other people trying to do stupid projects with ridiculously overcomplicated electrical systems. Getting your car running is probably the least important thing. It's actually surprisingly easy to bypass a KESI unit, that's keyless entry system, and immobilizer stuff. And what you'll find is you'll be able to get it to run, but it won't run properly. Mine is currently a limp mode. Sometimes they'll cut out randomly. Luckily mine doesn't. And this is where all manner of ECU things come into play. You might notice my ECU is not attached, and neither is this one. And that's because my ECUs are now halfway between Australia and America, which is where the immobilizer delete is going to happen on these 2 ECUs. I know a lot of people have commented stuff about getting ECU deletes in the comments, but this is a blindingly obvious thing. Any project, you're going to have to do that. Other things you'll need. Diagnostic stuff. This is a VCDS cable. They're pretty bloody expensive, and it's only a 3-VIN license. I only need one, so that's why I got this one. But there are many alternatives to this. There's another one called OBD11. You can do the pirate copy version if you're very confident in your abilities to not need other people's help. And lastly, once your ECUs come back from the other side of the planet, you're going to need an ECU flashing tool. And in my case, this is the most expensive part of the entire bloody project. Cost more than the short wheelbase did. And even after spending all this money, there are no guarantees that it's actually going to work correctly. Now you might have noticed this already. You definitely didn't. But this is my KESI module. This is something that I'm likely to have to do some very one-of-a-kind wiring to get it to work properly, that nobody's done before. And if you pretend we're in a Touareg, it's usually tucked under there in the most awkward to reach place. Which is why I've semi-planned by making all these complicated modules in places that I have easy access to. So maybe now you'll have a little bit more insight in what's involved in stupid CAN bus builds. And maybe you should reconsider making one. Because unless you know what you're doing, it's gonna suck. So, you know what comes next. We're definitely now getting ready to fit ginger carpets. Of course. But not in this episode. You'll have to wait for the next one. Bye.